and thank you for clicking on the video. This is the first video of my channel, so if you're watching now, I'm very honored to have you here. My name is Renegade Moose. I play RTS games competitively as time allows. So in particular, Total Warhammer 3 is the RTS of choice for me at the moment. Love this game, has tons of depth, so much to learn and explore. I'm pretty active in the Discord community for Turin's YouTube channel. If you haven't checked him out, check him out. The GOAT of Total Warhammer 3 streaming and recording, and the inspiration for this channel in a lot of ways. So let's get to it. This is going to be my regular series off meta with the Moose. The point of this series is to dive deeper into the mini rosters in Total Warhammer 3. You can see there's a lot of them, a lot of different things to explore here. Each one of these armies, if you're newer to the game, has upwards of like 30, would it be 40, maybe in the 30s or 20s, different types of units you can bring, all with their different special abilities, unique traits, and different niches and utility. So there's a lot to learn. It definitely could be really intimidating when you're learning the game. There's so much to explore that you really can only learn through experience. So the route I've been following with my current exploration into off meta items, and for those newer to RTS, meta is kind of what's the good stuff? What are people using now that wins? Because usually there's something, a unit that's typically possibly more overpowered than other units, a unit that just has maybe the developers, liked it a little more than other units when they were creating it. Like for Tomb Kings, those familiar with the game will know the Kymrian War Sphinx recently has kind of been the terror of the meta as far as Tomb Kings go. But the unit I want to be exploring, it's a unit that got some buffs recently, but I really haven't been seeing it used much by any of the top players in the tournament scene for Total Warhammer 3, and that is the Hierotitan. The Hierotitan is a really cool looking unit. I mean, it's like a giant, towering, Egyptian kind of inspired, ancient Egyptian colossus made out of magic and metal, and yeah, I mean, what's not to get excited about that? As far as its raw stats, it has quite a bit going for it. It has an insane 12,000, almost closer to 13,000 HP pool, which for those who don't know, to compare that to say a standard infantry unit has 9,000, almost 10,000. Cavalry are around 5,000 if they're a light cavalry. And other constructs, the more meta ones, like the Kymrian War Sphinx and the Sphinx, the Necro Sphinx and the ROR, have around 10,000 HP. So it easily has the highest HP in the entire roster. So, and on top of that, it has 100 armor, which that will mitigate incoming light armor damage, non-armor piercing damage, like arrows or the sticks and spears of, say, some basic infantry. So this thing has a ton of durability, which is one point for it. It is very slow, which can be an issue, as you'll see soon. Shortly after this brief description, I'll go into some games and some live examples of using it and seeing how it does. Leadership is solid enough. It's undead, and it doesn't run. It can't run, given that it's undead, so that's not an issue. Speed, very slow, and on top of the speed is its turn rate. The unit turns very slow, which can cause some challenges sometimes. But really solid melee stats. Magic and fire damage are applicable in a lot of cases. 56 melee attack is pretty good. 45 melee defense if we compare it to its competitor. And by competitor, I mean the niche it would fill in the roster. This is a giant brawling monster, so in a game, you're going to want it as your piece to go head-to-head with that similar role in other armies, like a greater unclean one, say for Nurgle, possibly like a Bloodthirster of Khorne, if you're familiar with those. Yeah, so dueling those big monsters, which on the subject of demons, it has magic damage, which is pretty nice. But compared to the competitor in the roster, the ROR Necrosphinx, you see this one all the time. It recently got a cost increase due to being a little too good. The stats are pretty comparable in melee attack, melee defense. Both have magic and fire damage. The Necrosphinx does have more melee attack, if I remember correctly. Yeah, here's the comparison. It's got more weapon strength, sorry, that is, and a bonus versus large. So it's going to be hitting a little harder in those duels and have a little better melee stats. Definitely a better charge bonus. But it does have that 3,000 less HP, which does come to be quite a big factor, especially because Tomb Kings have a lot of healing in their roster. And healing, for those who don't know, is a percentage-based ability. So the Necrotect, he has a healing ability for constructs for the Tomb Kings roster. And you can see it heals at 0.8% for over 24 seconds. So that means with each second of that heal, it's going to give the unit back 0.8% of its HP. So the bigger HP pool you have, the more each one of those individual ticks of health is actually going to be. So, and the Tomb Kings have not only healing from this Necrotect, their army ability, one that just happens progressively throughout the game for them, also heals all their units. So Necrotect, Hierotitan, I mean, is going to be getting a lot of healing. So that's its melee capabilities, but on top of that, not just its solid melee capabilities, it has bound abilities and passive abilities. So this is one of the main recent buffs the Hierotitan received, is an increase to the number of bound spells it has. So spells are something that normally uses Winds of Magic, it's called, which is equivalent to mana if you've played, World of Warcraft or basically any other fantasy game. But these bound spells don't require Winds of Magic. You just get them. Like you get 2 of these Spirit Leeches and you get 3 of these Shims of Burning Gaze. So the Shims Burning Gazes aren't overcast. They're just regular Shims, which, again, if you're newer to the game, overcasting is something you can do with actual spells. It's pretty much what you always want to do. It just is better damage per Winds of Magic. But you don't have that option with these bound abilities. You just only can use the regular. But that's not bad for Shim's Burning Gaze. It's a really good spell. It got buffed, I don't know, like 5 versions ago, patches, I don't know how you say it. But it's a much improved spell. It has really good tracking. You essentially never miss with it. And when it's going after a individual, like a lord or a hero, it will focus all the shots onto that hero. Or if it's shooting at, say, an artillery piece, infantry unit, the various missiles, that number of projectiles you can see there will spread out and hit the unit evenly. And I've been messing around with this, and this has some pretty niche but super useful applications. I found it's really good at poking at heroes. I mean, 3 shims adds up, especially if it's a squishy hero, like, say, a Tzeentch demon caster on the disc or something of that nature. And also into some units I wouldn't expect it to be good into, like Hawkland long rifles and Skaven weapons teams. This seems to do really solid damage. Spirit Leech is just good. It's a spell people have been taking essentially from the beginning of Total War multiplayer back in Game 1, like 6 years ago now, something like that, maybe longer. It's just you point and click on the enemy lord and you do damage. It's very solid. And kind of the secret sauce, I feel like, of the Hierotitan, the reason that got me into diving into its possible applications in competitive, is this passive ability, Spirit Conduit. So it does a couple of things. It gives power recharge when a friendly spellcaster is in that effect range 100 meters, which is a pretty big range as far as auras go in this game. And 20% power recharge kind of doesn't matter at all. It helps a little, but you probably will hardly even notice it. good power recharge is like 60% passive, or a triggered one that can do 160 over like 30 seconds. But the real juice is that spell mastery. So what spell mastery does is increases the intensity of a spell being used. So let's say your spell like Spirit Leech does 33 to 67 potential damage. That's the range it can do for each tick over that 13 seconds. What spell mastery does is increases each one of those ticks by 20%. So let's say you were doing, oh, I have to do, am I setting myself? Okay, I can do math. So let's say your tick does 50 damage, would just stumble upon that in that range. 20% spell mastery would add 10 onto that 50 damage, making it 60 damage instead. And then add that up for the entire duration of the spell. So over all 13 seconds, that's adding like, this is kind of a lighter spell here with Spirit Leech, and I think this bound one might even be shorter than the normal one. I can't remember. But that might add, say, 130 damage onto the spell and whatnot. And that can add up pretty significantly with some of the spells we're going to look at here in a second. So, yeah, and let's look at the spells that it might be boosting for the Tomb Kings. Tomb Kings have access to a couple lores of magic. The one you'll primarily always be seeing is the lore of Nekakara. It's the unique spell class for the Tomb Kings. It has a number of different spells, but really the one you will pretty much always see is Usurian's Incantation of Vengeance. Nice long name. It's just one of the best spells in the game right now. It just got nerfed in a recent patch, and it's in line, I think, to get nerfed, or it's requested by the community to get nerfed again. It just is really good into cavalry, which are really popular right now in the current game situation. You can see it's best against units with 25 or more entities, so not your heroes or small monstrous units, excuse me. But cavalry, infantry as well, but really cavalry is where it hits really hard. So, why is it so good? Slow is nice, the speed reduction, that won't be affected by spell mastery, but it just does really solid damage for low winds of magic. 62 to 125 damage per second, over 24 seconds. You can cut most cavalry units down by a quarter or a third of their HP using that. And that bypasses all defensive qualities these elite expensive cavalry might have, like armor or melee defense. And you don't really have to think about it. It's easy to micro. You just get your ability selected, click on them, and boom, you're there. That cavalry, which is now slowed, so their charge might hit less, not as hard as it would have otherwise. And they're also going to be taking damage. And that damage on top of, say, maybe they're charging one of your cavalry units is going to stack as a morale penalty. The more damage the unit takes, the more its morale is affected and more likely it is to run away. So a lot of benefits from this one. You can just keep pumping it out at low 10 cost of winds of magic. The overcast doesn't, I don't think, actually really, it doesn't exist. It has an additional slowing effect, but that doesn't really matter too much. It's usually just worth it to cast the regular one. But the Hierotitan's aura, what was it called again? Spirit Conduit, is essentially unnerfing this spell. It used to even be even better. I think it used to cost like 6 winds of magic or something crazy. It was pretty low. But and even if it receives more nerfs, that Spirit Conduit would probably keep it unnerfed, just making an already good spell even better. On top of being a good fighting character in itself, don't forget the Hierotitan. This is just a passive ability it does on the side. You can get pretty nutty damage values with Usurians using this combo. I've had a good number of test runs with it. And the goal, by the way, for this series is to kind of make the Hierotitan meta. I think it has a lot of cool applications, and yeah, I think it can really do some work. And we'll be seeing by the end of this series if we can win a tournament with the Hierotitan. So, anyways, back to spells. Usurian's really strong. Spirit Conduit makes it super strong. There's other spells. There's a lot of other spells in the lore of Nekakara. Unfortunately, not all of them are super good right now. There's, where is it? Sandstorm, a vortex infantry killing ability. No armor piercing damage. Maybe into demons you might bring this, because demons don't have any armor. But yeah, your Syrians is just so good. You can't really pass up on it now. So this is kind of a basic kit for Kotep you would take with the Hierotitan. Sandstorm's a nice bound ability. Restless Dead, the lore passive for Lore Nekakari gives more healing, so more healing to the Hierotitan every time you cast a spell. Other lores of magic you could take Arc in the Black with the Hierotitan. Let's get a basic kit on him. You would probably just go with this. Yeah, and Spirit Leech and Buna. So Spirit Leech, as we mentioned, it is the same as the Bound Spirit Leech. Buffing this is nice. Like we talked about, adding 20% Spell Mastery will add more damage onto your Spirit Leech. If you're going for a Lord Sniping ability, or kind of build, I mean, that pairs really well with the Hierotitan, because you're dropping Spirit Leeches from Archon. Hierotitan is dropping its Bound Spirit Leeches on top of a Lord, and you can use Shems to target that Lord. You can really put a lot of pressure on an enemy Lord really fast. And also, back to killing cavalry, Fate of Buna, which for a long time was kind of just the go-to spell because it absolutely demolishes cavalry, was taken by a good number of armies, really whenever you could. But recently got nerfed. I think the duration was reduced, so you're really not seeing anyone take Fate of Buna. Maybe in a few matchups for some factions, but not often. That Spirit Conduit, again, essentially unnerfs Buda. It brings it back to making it one of the best spells in the game with that 20% spell mastery. I mean, you can imagine with 125 to 250 as your damage possible tick, plus 20% adds up quite a bit. If any math experts are watching this and want to comment on what the potential range increase could be, that would be super awesome. But there is... Yeah, I prefer Kotep over Archon just for other applications Kotep has. I think mostly just because Usurians is so good of a spell. And the bound ability, I prefer the Sandstorm over this summon. This summon you need to charge by putting your wizard in melee, so usually not a great combo, so not as much, I think, application in a lot of matchups as Kotep. Other lores of magic do exist in the Tomb King's roster, but you never really see them. There's lore of shadows, and the reason you never see them is because you never see a Lich Priest. You pretty much are always taking a caster lord as Tomb Kings. There's only two options, Tomb King and High Queen Khalida, that would allow you to not take a caster lord as a lord for Tomb Kings, and neither one of them are just very applicable right now. You could take High Queen Khalida is just kind of a confusing character. Her buffs are for shooting units. Yes, the Blessing of Asaph. I don't know how to pronounce that. So we're buffing shooting units, but she's a melee character, so you kind of want her to be dueling and fighting, but also sitting next to missile units. Doesn't make a ton of sense in my experience. The Tomb King you can take if you take him on the very meta Kimrian War Sphinx, and then give him Scorpion Armor, which gives him nice damage resistance when he's below 50%. That's a very solid character. He's not too expensive. He is survivable with Scorpion Armor. So he is the one, I think, Lord you could pair with a Lich Priest. But it's pretty niche to do so. I've done it a couple times in tournament games and had some success, but I think Kotep is usually just a better option. But you could do the Lore of Shadows caster. Pit of Shades with Spell Mastery would be pretty terrifying. Melkoth's kind of the competitor for Usurians, is pretty good. You could pair it with that, but Usurians is, I think, a little more optimal, so you would probably use that instead. Lore of Light, you could take that. Spell Mastery doesn't affect things like spells. Sorry, not spells. Net spells. It does not increase the duration, sadly, so no reason to pair it with that. You could be casting Shems with Spell Mastery, which that actually could be kind of interesting. I might have to try that. You could do Probably not 2 Shims casters. You can take an item for these Lich Priests that increases Winds of Magic. That would be the only reason to take 2 casters. And the reason I'm mentioning 2 casters is just you can cast more Shims Burning Gaze rapidly on an enemy, which is pretty useful. And Banishment, but Banishment is just not the greatest spell right now. It is a Wandering Vortex you drop, which is great in campaign, but in multiplayer it might wander off the wrong direction, and then your opponent's just going to move your unit away from it, and you end up doing no damage. Yes, so in all my test games that I'm going to be showing you, you're going to be seeing Lore of Nekakara for the most part. Possibly I'll do a few games with Arkan, but I'm trying to, while I'm searching for off-meta exploration, I'm also trying to focus on a competitive goal, which is winning tournaments. So while we'll be having fun and picking some non-meta stuff like the Hierotitan, I'll typically be taking like in this example, Lores of Magic that I think will win and be successful in the competitive environment. So yeah, mostly we're going to be seeing Kotep, but we're going to be having some fun too. All right, so let's move on over to a replay I have of a game with the Hierotitan, and let's see how it does. All right, here we go. We got a replay of a game between myself and Broccoli Fangirl, wielding the forces of Nurgle. This battle is going to be on Lustrian Narrows. It's a Total Tavern mod for Total Warhammer 3, the Total Tavern map pack. Really cool map, nice tactical and strategies kind of situations you can find yourself in, and it just looks really cool. All right, so here we go. The forces move towards each other. For myself, wielding the Tomb Kings, gonna have a pretty typical opening besides the Hierotitan. A spread of skeleton infantry here across the middle. Kotep, as we talked about, with Usurians and Sandstorm. Some skeleton horse archers to push back enemy skirmishers and take the objectives, and then 2 sepulchral stalkers here in the backfield, going to be firing into big targets of Nurgle. And of course we have the Hierotitan here, going to be stomping up the middle. Oh, look at this guy. Such a cool model, like the magic glowing in the candle, the detail in the armor. This is a cool looking game. It's a cool looking game. Anyways, over to the forces of Nurgle. We have the 2 heroes for Nurgle. We have the Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle, a nice melee character, good for brawling into the Hierotitan and constructs of the Tomb Kings. Chaos Sorcerer of Nurgle here with Fleshy Abundance, really good healing spell, and Rancid Visitation is kind of like a super buffed up Spirit Leech. For the rest of the Nurgle army, it's going to be a wide spread of infantry here marching across the battlefield. We have Forsaken, Marauders, more Forsaken, Pestigors taking up the flanks. So let's fast forward a little here as we get to the action. My skirmishers will take objective 1 and 2 initially, but the forces of Nurgle are going... Oh, we have a play from the Hierotitan. Shim's Burning Gaze onto the Chaos Lord of Nurgle. Gonna do a little damage, but I will lose objective 2 as the Nurgle forces approach. The force is gonna come to a potential clash here, but the impetus is gonna be on me to take an objective and make a move at this point, because my opponent, having 2 objectives, will be getting 2 victory ticks as to my 1, so they will reach 1,500 points first at this point. Here we have the natural predator of the Hierotitan coming out, the Angels of Decay. Really, as they turn away from us here, trying to get a look at them. Bad timing. They have a really solid missile that they shoot, good armor-piercing values, poison, magic damage. When you compare that to a skeleton horse archer, which is shooting at them, 15 missile damage, these guys pack a very serious punch. So going to need to keep them away from the Hierotitan. Going to be using the skirmishers of my own to try and push them back. And let's see how it goes. Skirmishers pulling back. Nurgle just holding the line. No need for them to make a move at this point, so my opponent wisely just holds their ground. I don't have anything that really can threaten infantry at this point. The Hierotitan is not really an infantry clear, more for dealing with those single entities, but my card that I'm going to play coming out is going to be Chariots. They are a good infantry clearing unit. Necrotect also going to be helping them do a little more damage as a nice debuff item. Going to see how they do into the Forsaken of Nurgle. Going to need something to clear out all these infantry. Forsaken do have high armor though, so it might not be the most damage. We'll see how it goes. Nice crushing charge, but not going to do a ton of damage with that high armor of the Forsaken. Hierotitan, meanwhile, going in. I realize this is a bit of a mistake. He's a bit isolated. You can see my help is dealing with some Chaos Furies back there. And the Angels of Decay are teeing off. The Chaos Lord and Chaos Sorcerer are shooting. A lot of damage might be coming down onto him. Those Chaos Sorcerer heroes have really good melee stats, so could be bringing him down quite a bit. Why the Hierotitan was up here is I'm used to playing with the Cambrian War Sphinx and the Necro Sphinx. Those two large constructs, kind of the rivals or competitors for the Hierotitan, have much faster speed, so you can kind of poke in and bring them back. So out of habit, I did that with the Hierotitan, and as you can see, it didn't go very well. So Hierotitan trying to pull back, trying to send in some skeleton warriors to reinforce him. Nice Overwatch fire coming from the snake is going to push back the Angels of Decay, help out the Hierotitan. Chariots over here doing some good work into the Forsaken, getting some nice damage in, but on this right flank, the infantry of Nurgle have pushed in really solidly and are moving my army back. In the middle, Bound Spirit Leech going down, the Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle, going to do some nice damage. The Sepulchral Stalkers, which was shooting, have decent melee against large, are going to be pulling back, it looks like. I really need the Hierotitan to be the counter to these characters, so I'm trying to realign things, get back from those Angels of Decay who are chasing the Hierotitan, get my shooting in place, line it up to try and take down the Angels of Decay, which might be able to get a nice volley here. Looks like there's some spacing for it from Usurians going down, so this is what it's all for. The wizard is in the 100-meter aura of Spirit Conduit. If we can get that up, yes, Kotep is in range, so he's going to be getting the damage buff. And if we click on the Angels of Decay, you can see there's damage per second, and there's that up to the right of it that is showing that the damage has increased from 62 to 125 to 75 to 150 per tick. And Angels of Decay aren't a great target as they are below the 24 models desirable for Usurians, but with the boost damage maybe we'll be okay. And Overwatch fire from the snake shooting into the Angels of Decay, forcing them back, leaving the Hierotitan safe to duel the two Nurgle characters. So it is 2v1 and the Hierotitan has taken a lot of damage. Not a fair fight, but some Ushabti come in to reinforce. And the Chaos Sorcerer Lord Nurgle does decide to fall back. Angels of Decay going to be getting shot down by the laser beams from the snakes and the archer fire. Still getting some last volleys into the Hierotitan. And so let's reflect on how the Hierotitan's done so far. He has, if we can focus on him, 400 values, not a ton, and I did blunder him pretty hard at the start, but he has soaked up a lot of damage. I mean, if you think about that 4,000 HP, we saw that the Necrosphinx and War Sphinx had about 3,000 left, so they would be on death's bed at this point. They might be crumbling, which happens to undead units when they get to low leadership. They start to lose HP over time until they're gone. So the Hierotitan has been a solid anchor. He's soaked up. He's been a great damage sponge. I can say that much about him so far. He is going for his grand play now, going for a swing on the Chaos Sorcerer Lord, or the caster, I mean. Laser beam attack. Looks like it misses, but he does tear route the Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle, so might have potential there. Terror routing is a perk he brings to the table. Right flank evaporating for myself. Left flank going quite a bit better. Another Bound Spirit Leech going down. It looks like he did land a hit from the Hierotitan. So he is beating back. He's doing his anchor job of holding on. Oh, look at that sick animation. Ushabti throwing down the disgusting Nurgle forces. Archer fire coming in, and do we have a resurgence? It looks like we do. The Tomb Kings have gain control. Another not terror route, just a standard route. But looks like some serious damage coming in onto Kotep. Rancid Visitations has him very low. Could lose him, which would not be a good sign for myself. Left flank going well, routing the Nurgle forces over here. Kotep does go down to that Rancid Visitations from the Nurgle Sorcerer, but he costs about 1,000 gold, which is pretty cheap, so he'll be back. But in the meantime, the Tomb King's forces keep the opponent on the back foot, giving me a chance to take back Objective 2, which will be very big for myself, as that will help me get back in line with the point total here. Plague drones coming out for my opponent. ROR Nurgling unit. Looks like I might lose Objective 1 there, but I will have some time to react. Objective 2, Skeleton Horse Archers forcing back the Marauders, just chasing them off. Do we have another terror? Nope, a normal route. The Hierotitan anchoring the middle here, kind of keeping the Chaos Heroes honest. And we do get Objective 2. And a nice ball of infantry here. We do route some forces. Snakes shooting up into the plague drones, poking them back, getting some nice laser beam shots into those units. And we might be able to hold it. Yep, looks like we're holding the cap lead on Objective 1. So I do have a double cap. I am down quite a bit in points, but a lot of that damage is on the Hierotitan. I mean, he suffered so much damage. I mean, like he's at about 9,000 damage. I don't totally understand how this system works, but a lot of that value has to be in the Hierotitan who's still around. So we're in a semi-okay state as the Tomb Kings right now. Actually is some potential for losing Objective 1 here. Looks like the chariots are going to go down from the plague drones coming in. Furies look like they are coming after the Sepulchral Stalkers, which don't want to be fighting small units. But DJ Kotep does return. He has been put together by the Mortuary Cult once again, and following him is a solid anchor for the Tomb Kings. The Kepler Guard are a really strong unit, magic damage into demons, nice bonus versus infantry and really good stats, and they regenerate on top of Tomb King's healing, so they're going to stick around a long time. So boosted Usurians from the Hierotitan aura, so bonus damage coming in, Sandstorm from Kotep, bringing immense value from his return immediately, routing 2 units, forcing the skirmishers back. And we'll give the Hierotitan a little more breathing room as well, because those axes coming in from those Marauder Horsemen would have been able to potentially poke them down. Second bound Shems coming in, doing a nice little poke there on the Chaos Sorcerer Lord and, well, Chaos Lord and Chaos Sorcerer, putting a little pressure on them, combined with the Snake Knights. If I can get some shots off, might be able to put a little pressure on the heroes here. Forsaken coming in from the flank, but Kepler Guard are not going to care about them. They'll be able to hold this pretty solidly. But it does look like I lose Objective 1. We have the Nurglings and Plague Drones. My infantry is responding, but Nurglings have, I believe, 5 capture weight. Yeah, nearly 5. They lost some units, but my skeletons will have far less. 1 on this unit, almost 1 on this unit. So yeah, just this 1 Nurgling is going to be able to hold against my forces. I'll need something else here to relieve the current double cap that I'm under. So back to the middle where the action is, though. Hierotitan and Kepler Guard forcing these Forsaken, nearly routing them. But the Chaos Heroes have come in, and they are looking to push back against the Hierotitan. 2 heroes, and the Kepler, dueling the Kepler Guard and the Hierotitan. Laser beam, oh, that was a good one. But what's the damage that's actually occurring? Hierotitan is getting smacked up, but so is the Sorcerer Lord, getting a little close to the danger zone. Kotep took another Rancid Visitations, nasty spell, almost dead again. Marauder Cav coming in to apply pressure. Really can't let those get near the Hierotitan, or, I mean, he's really low now at this point. 1,400, just a couple volleys would kill him. And my chance of the game. If I can keep him on the Kepler Guard, I have a chance here to maybe get a rout on these characters and keep myself in it. And I am potentially getting Objective 1 back, it looks like, over there, so still a chance. Kotep taking more damage from the heroes, could lose him a second time. Cav trying to push back the Marauders, but they do get a volley on the Hierotitan. He's really low. This unit gets into the Snakes, can't hold them all off. And he gets another laser beam in, but it's not looking good for this guy. He's down to 400. He's crumbling with massive leadership penalties. He's probably going to go down. Gets one last laser beam in, but I think that's going to be the end of the road for him. Yep, the light in his eyes go out, and down goes the big boy. What a sad sight. But the Hierotitan has fallen. This Usurians now will not receive the benefit because he has passed away. Where is Kotep? He's over there. Yep, I'm able to take objective 1 just by avoiding these Nurglings. Still going strong, these little guys. Bashing away with their... I love that whip animation that they do. But the cavalry were able to cap the objective behind them. Just going to leave this fight to what it is. And move on. Going to try and get these horsemen to somewhere that matters, which is the middle objective. Which I still am holding for the moment, but I am losing the cap weight. Lost my Snake Acre Sepulchral Stalkers over here. So if I don't get some cap weight on here soon, I am going to lose that objective. Kepler Guard still holding strong, being the badasses that they are. Really cool custom model there, fighting back against these Forsaken. They might be able to win, but with the heroes, Kotep running from the Chaos Lord of Nurgle. Oh, micro slip there. He stops running, and might be the end of the road for him. Just every hit is probably going to land here, as Kotep has pretty low melee defense at 38. Yep, another swing. Gets one spell off before the end, which will trigger the healing. Might keep him around. No, looks like crumbling. And another swing will probably put him in the can. And Kotep goes down for a second time, sadly. And that's probably going to be the end of the road here. Doing some play on objective 3, we have some skeleton horse archers pushing in, getting some shots on the flank. Yep, gonna move in behind to try and take the objective. A little cheeky play, but Furies are around. They'll probably turn back, push off these skeleton horse archers. And yeah, I don't think I have much of a shot at this point. Objective 1 might be able to take that. Hold that, I mean. But Ushabti coming in. There is some pressure here, but... yeah, the heroes for Nurgle are just going to kind of run wild. More healing could be applied on this Chaos Lord of Nurgle, so probably won't fall. Forsaken are going to anchor the objective. Yeah, and as one of the players in this game, I can tell you that I do not win this game. So, in the meantime, as we watch some of the action, let's get some cinematic shots. We do have the Frolickers finally perishing, which is going to be nice. Open up some units here, but not that they're going to do much. Let's talk about, in the meantime, how the Hierotitan did, what maybe I could adjust, because we're not looking at just the pure effect it had on this game. This was the first test game. I'm kind of trying to craft a play style around it. So I want to figure out what I could have done differently that maybe would have unlocked its potential. So it was a very solid anchor. It took a lot of damage. I mean, this Chaos Lord of Nurgle getting close to 2,000 value. Caster out here got a lot of hits on it. The Angels of Decay were pouring some damage into it. It soaked up a lot of damage. I mean, it lived to a point where the War Sphinx, or the Necro Sphinx, would have passed away from the damage. It was at 3,000 HP for a long time, which is the difference in HP between it and those other constructs. So it soaked up damage, and it did buff Kotep spells. There weren't a lot of great targets for Usurians in this matchup. The Plague drones and the ROR Death's Head Grenade Plague drones had less than 24 models, and Usurians, the spell I was buffing with the Hierotitan, is really more designed for cavalry, more high model count units. And the only cavalry here were the Marauders for Nurgle, which are, while they do provide solid damage, are not a totally formidable unit. So yeah, really what would have been a good target would have been the ROR Rot Knights for Nurgle. A really solid melee unit that's really terrifying. If I could have been popping Usurians on them all game, it would have stacked up some serious damage. The bound abilities weren't bad for the Hierotitan. I mean, a couple Shems, a couple Spirit Leeches did some solid work. Maybe if some other things were going better, it might have created some pressure on the Nurgle heroes. But really the main issue I was running into was dealing with the Nurgle infantry. These Forsaken, these Pestigors, the Chariots were not a big enough counter, and so I really had nothing to kind of push away the mass of this Nurgle horde. So I think an idea I have for the future could be implementing a Cambrian War Sphinx into reserves. So while the Hierotitan, there's this sad corpse there on the ground, is anchoring the game, the Cambrian War Sphinx could have been mopping up those infantry and pushing them back. Let's take a look at the values here, see how the Hierotitan did. About 1,000 damage value. Not good, not horrible. It cost 2,000, so about half its value back, on top of taking an insane amount of damage. So okay for it, but it's one of its big purposes, buffing Kotep, who did okay. Again, didn't have any great targets for Usirian, so it wasn't a super great showcase of what he can do with the Hierotitan aura, but not horrible either. Yeah, so I think definitely bringing a Cambrian War Sphinx in some regard is important, just for dealing with those armored infantry of Nurgle. You can see here I brought a Bone Giant, which I didn't summon it because it didn't really have anything to counter of the Nurgle army. I think the change I would make would be removing him, possibly removing one of these chariots, and picking up a Cambrian War Sphinx and maybe another chaff infantry unit. That would allow me to clear out these infantry units that were in the way, maybe allowed the Hierotitan to have a better chance with some support of other units to duel these characters, and maybe I would have been able to counter this Chaos Sorcerer a little more, keep Kotep alive and casting those boosted spells. Yeah. Alright, so thank you for watching the video. We're going to come back to this series with some different games with the Hierotitan in different matchups, and probably with that Cambrian War Sphinx in reserves, to see if we can get a little sauce going here, a little juice. Yeah, thanks for watching the video. This is my first video, so if you have any thing you want to say in the comments, let me know. I'll be doing other factions in the Off Meta with the Moose, a couple different Off Meta with the Moose series. Going to do with ones with Skaven coming up here. So if you have any ideas or any units or builds for different armies that you think are maybe underutilized, drop a comment down below and let me know what those might be, and maybe I'll give them a try. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.